The United States is going to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for this exact moment for 20 years. They even ran a practice war last year just to study how America fights. Think about that. While America was sleeping, Iran was training. Now here is what the news is not telling you. Iran is not trying to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are cutting off the food supply to the entire Gulf region. They are targeting the water supply. Saudi Arabia gets 60% of its water from desalination plants. One drone strike and 10 million people have no water in 2 weeks. No water means Saudi Arabia falls. Saudi Arabia falls means the petrodollar dies. Petrodollar dies means the American economy collapses from the inside, and it gets worse. America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian drones that cost $50,000 each. They are literally going broke trying to defend themselves. This is not a war America can win with bombs, and deep down they know it. Arabs have watched this pattern destroy empires for centuries. Now,
Al Jazeera, a reputable mainstream news outlet, released an article today titled "The Fourth Successor: Iran's Plan for a Long War with the US and Israel." The subtitle reads, "Tehran built a doctrine to absorb shock, survive decapitation strikes, and turn time into a weapon." They're obviously much better writers than myself, but do you guys remember when I was talking about this exact thing last year, that I was saying Iran has built itself with a resilience model? When you know the skies over your nation will be compromised as soon as the first shots are fired because your enemy's aircrafts are just superior to yours, you accept that reality and you prepare. What else can I do? There's no point whining, complaining. What can I do to fight that reality? You build deep underground. That's what Iran has done. When you know enemy intelligence capabilities are best in class, superior to yours, no point whining or denying the truth. You set up something to counter that. In this case, in Iran's case, they set up succession plans, 2, 3, 4 levels deep, so that if the enemy targets senior members, the most senior member, bang, next guy comes up, bang, next guy comes up, bang, next guy comes up. After a while, it looks like, flipping, what is this? Is this The Walking Dead? Why are these guys not like dying? They expect, the Iranians, they expect their life will be lost in the defense of their homeland. The seniors expect this more than the juniors. And the juniors are ready, eager, brave to step up to the plate. On the other hand, analytically speaking, Israel and the US seem to know their own strengths, but they were betting Iran would not be able to counter in the way that Iran has set up their whole nation to counter the US and Israel. They were banking on Iran not being resilient enough to withstand the alpha strike punch that the US and Israel initiated. That was actually a hard punch, bruv. I'm actually quite strong. I'm joking. The US and Israel expected the nation of Iran to buckle under the protests, first of all, that were triggered in January, by the way, by the US currency manipulation and the withholding of certain funds. American Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent admitted it on video. You can look it up. They triggered the economic hardship and the free fall of Iran's currency due to a bank in Iran collapsing because of what America did. That was their intention, which led to the January protests. Look it up, fact check me. GPT or whatever the heck you do. But Iran endured. They struck with thousands of airstrikes across the war, across the country, this war. They took out the supreme leader of Iran. No small matter. 37 years this man has been in power. He basically built the modern day Iran. You can dislike modern day Iran or like modern day Iran, but once again, as usual, I'm being analytical and unbiased. He built Iran. That's what I'm saying. His administration built Iran as you know it to be. He was taken out. And now they're running out of options. Like, what else can I do? Because Iran's still alive. They're still flinging toilet rolls that can fly and be guided into infrastructure. They're still firing missiles that can, alter trajectory, meaning that I need to spend literally tens of millions in interceptors trying to stop these stupid missiles. What else can I do? The Gulf monarchy allies are running out of interceptors, and their American economic allies elsewhere in the world are running out of patience. when you've got everyone from Japan and Korea to Germany, France, and the UK. Bruv, we've put down our fish and chips. Starmer's put down his fish and chips and he's getting serious.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. This is unacceptable. You can use my basis, of course, you can use my basis, but we're not going to support regime change from the sky.
Macron, flipping Macron, is asking for the United Nations to start talking about Lebanon. Trump's going to be like, Macron, what side are you on, crony boy? What's going on here? You know, MBS, moving to the Gulf allies now. MBS, MBZ, all the Muhammads are banging on your door and they're furious and they're shouting. And even though it's Ramadan, they're shouting. You know, in Ramadan, Muslims should be mellowed out, bro. We're fasting, we're tired, not even water. In my case, not even a cup of tea, right? And still they're furious at Trump. They're like, it's Ramadan, but don't make me slap you, bro. Don't make me slap you. And all you have for all your allies is words of reassurance. Don't worry, guys. I promised to hit them 20 times harder. Now it's all fine. They'll come around. They're going to get hit bigly otherwise, in a way that America has never hit anyone before. And I told Hexet, make sure you hit them like they've never been hit before. And America's allies at this point will be like, shut up, bruv. You started this. And you can't hit them harder. They've gone underground. Your own media is calling this war a war of choice. And your own Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said you joined the war because you knew Israel was going to attack and you knew Iran would respond, obviously, to the attack. So you acted first in a preemptive slap to Iran slapping first. How the flip is that preemptive? Do you not know what preemptive means? It's a classic time to mention the how can she slap meme, for those who know. Just type in how can she slap if you don't know what I'm talking about on YouTube. It's a very good analogy for what happened here. Let me just pause so that I can slot the clip into this part of the video.
Did you tell lawmakers that there was an imminent?
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way.
The diplomatic gymnastics are a spectacle to behold. It makes for good TV. No, it's not bad, actually. It's good TV, right? Now, along with the TV show that Rubio and Trump are basically on, you got the world's greatest showman now, Secretary of War / Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who drops bangers like this one.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change.
What in the doctor's use is going on there? It feels like America's officials are like a parody version of what the officials should be, except the parody versions are actually in office. In this timeline, they're actually the ones that are in power. It's not like a skit. The skit characters are in power. That's what it seems like, I'm saying. I'm not being biased here, obviously, against America. Very capable nation, very well-oiled machine. That oil is very valuable right now. Now, it's the new age. It is what it is. It's the new age. Comedians are speaking seriously. Politicians are acting like clowns. Some comedians and clowns are the new politicians. Zelensky was a former comedian, right? Trump was formerly on TV. You're fired. Now he's firing shots from the White House, not firing fake employees, which technically on The Apprentice, like, why are you saying you're fired? You haven't hired any of these people. So how are they fired? They could one day clap back, like, bruv, you can say I'm not hired, but you can't fire me. I don't have the job yet. Anyway, if they did say that, obviously they'll just cut it out because it's a pre-recorded TV show. Anyway, wow, that was a meander. To wrap this one up, Iran's administration is in no way comfortable with what is going on. I want to sanity check that. I'm not a champion of Iran. I'm not a spokesperson for Iran. I am a humble analyst at your service, trying to bring you the facts without the spin on it that you will get in the Western world, especially the pro-Western spin, right? The Western spin. Because we are all speaking English. This is the Western world. There'll be a pro-Western spin. I'm not saying Iran's comfortable. That would be delusional. I'm not saying they're strong and they've taken no or very little damage. No, they've taken a catastrophic amount of damage with this war. The damage they've taken. With senior leadership being targeted, with the infrastructure being targeted. Economically, they're going to be struggling. But like a man who's spent, another analogy, of course, like a man who's spent years of his life weightlifting, practicing, training, when he's called upon one day to lift in a contest, show us your personal best, my G. He's not going to be comfortable lifting that way. He's going to be straining. Veins are going to be like popping, bruv. Right? They're going to be like all over the place, right? His neck's going to look like flipping Abomination or Incredible Hulk. But he's going to be prepared. He's not comfortable, but he is prepared. That's Iran. Contrast that to the Gulf monarchies that by their so-called protector was abandoned completely. As soon as things popped off, they were left out into the cold. Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, they were all left in the cold, or in the desert heat, more accurately, right? As interceptors were allocated and prioritized for Israel. And they were like, Ya America, what are we going to do? Habibi, I thought we were Habibi. For those Gulf monarchies, it's like being an out-of-shape office worker suddenly called upon to run a marathon. Like, yeah, you can try it. You can start running, because most people can run, but you're completely unprepared, unlike that bodybuilder. In geopolitics, it's not just about raw power and capability, ladies and gentlemen. It's about preparation of each side, given the factors at play. Them knowing their own strengths and their own weaknesses and prepare. I said preparing accordingly, and it cut off because we've reached the 10-minute limit. Analytically speaking, for better or worse, Iran has shown it wanted peace, but it was prepared for war. And now the world is going a certain way. We'll see how it turns out. And now you've got a lot more of an enriched understanding of how nation states at the geopolitical, at the international level, because geopolitics is how nations operate, how administrations operate at the global level. You have an idea of how different nations operate in different ways. Nations can be extremely powerful like the US, but if they have not allocated the intellectual and the personnel capacity to maximize their wealth and power, and they go in with hubris, they go in with a sort of arrogance and an expectation that we're all powerful. We'll easily just slap this nation out the way. And especially when that idea is reinforced by the behavior of your allies scrambling to try and damage control what you say, and you speak a word and it causes a rise, and you speak another word and it causes another plummeting in the stock markets, you feel invincible. And then your armed forces, a branch of them, nab a sitting president out of a country and ferry him to your economic capital in New York, along with his wife, to play, I don't know, snooker or something with, in prison, to be in prison. You think, I can do that? I can do that? Like, you will yourself be in disbelief as the head of state, and your administration might suffer from that. You basically build yourself a blind spot. Whereas Iran's had its back up against the wall for 50 years. They've been left out in the cold, economically speaking, through sanctions. They've not been taken care of. They've not been brought into the fold and taken care of by America like they do with other states that are their protectorates, their subservient vassals. Not vassals. Protectorate is slightly higher than vassals. It's like an autonomous but still reliant upon you, subservient nation. Iran's not in there. And that's bad. That's uncomfortable. But if you survive out in the cold, you're going to be now much stronger than the person who's only used to warmth and a comfy, cushy jacket and those boots with the fluff in the middle. But this man's been standing outside with sandals, like in the middle of winter. So you're either going to see that guy fall on the floor and just pass away, or if he survives, bruv, he's way more hardy than any of you now. That's Iran. For better or worse, I'm not cheering them on. openly. And anyway, for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, ladies and gentlemen, I am Mahfouz Talukdar, News Baba, and it continues to be my absolute pleasure reporting to you. A final comment. Gaza, Sudan, Yemen. Crisis zones that I talk about all the time, of course. I've made over 200 videos, I think, collectively for them. But now we're not talking mid to long term, we're talking short term. Over the next 9 days, I'm raising money for them. The civilians in Gaza. I don't take a cut. It is zakat eligible for the Muslims that care. The money is verified. It's going straight to UK Muslim Aid. It's a charity. It doesn't go through me at all. I don't see the money. Link in my bio. Please donate something. £10. £5. You would be surprised on the side if you just go to the page. Just go to the page, have a look. Don't donate. Go to the page, just have a look. On the side, it says some of the stuff that the charity can do with the amount of money they need. And it is beautiful stuff that they can do. They've got the infrastructure in place. So all you have to do is just pour money in, basically, and it uses the pipeline they've already set up to give it to the civilians. Donate something. I would really, really appreciate it. Don't donate to me. You can't, actually. If you're on TikTok, the link doesn't send you to where you can give money to me. It goes only to the charity. That's how much I care about them. Please do donate. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
I see a calamity building and a lot of blood flowing. It's a kind of mass murder of civilians by Israel and the United States. This is shocking, actually. We should keep it in mind. This is not targeted bombing. This is carpet bombing Tehran. And I've been speaking on the phone with absolutely desperate people in Tehran in the last 48 hours, and it's carpet bombing. And they're killing indiscriminately. So this is a disaster that is not likely to go away. No one's claiming in Israel or the U.S. that it's likely to go away. And the consequences for the world will be utterly awful. And it appears we have a lot of Americans, we have a very particular society. We have a lot of Americans who are saying, move on. This is Armageddon coming. This is the promised end of the world. We are hearing lots of reports about this being preached in the military. We're seeing a lot of people who believe that the worse it gets, the closer we are to the second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's a motivating factor in the United States, I have to tell you. It's a significant part of Mr. Trump's base. And so bad news is not necessarily deterrence. It may just mean escalation to Armageddon. It is a grim situation that we're in. We've not seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. This is even beyond the Iraq War. They then had, I won't say the dignity, but they then had the impulse to hide the motivations. Here, there is no impulse to hide the motivations. It's just complete kill anybody and kill everybody and overturn this society of 100 million people and an ancient society of 5,000 years. So it's dreadful.
Professor Jeffrey Sachs, I've interviewed you many times. I don't think I've ever heard you speaking with such raw emotion, but I appreciate you coming back.
We're heading to World War III. And we're being led by extraordinarily violent governments.
The Kurdish population in Iran is large and influential, and Donald Trump has reached out through the CIA and other means to potentially involve them in this war. Boots on the ground in Iran, in Iraq, along the border. There's a lot that the Kurds can do to help the cause about defeating the Iranian government. But Trump has been fickle. And the Kurdish leadership has been skeptical, as well they should. What if an insurrection doesn't work out? Repression, again, from the Iranians. The Kurds have been to this party before, and the Americans come and go, but Iran has stayed. The U.S. has betrayed the Kurds over and over again, so it's understandable that they're not only skeptical, but deeply hesitant. However, the Kurdish people are hopeful that a deeply weakened Iranian government, even if there's no regime change, will be in their advantage. Let's keep our fingers crossed for the Kurdish people because they've been our loyal ally. They actually add stability to Iran, Iraq, the entire region, and they need our help in Syria right now. So if nothing else, I hope that this gives favorable attention and hopefully assistance and benefit to the Kurdish people throughout the Middle East.
How long can Iran last against the most powerful country in the history of the world? I know that historically speaking, as you mentioned, 18th, 19th centuries withstood Western colonization. In the 1980s, withstood a Western-backed Saddam Hussein invasion of Iran. For 8 years, the Iranians did not back down. They lost, I think, 1 million people in that war. They were subjected to chemical weapons. In the end, Khomeini reluctantly did do a ceasefire with Saddam Hussein's Iraq. How long can they last this time round, do you think?
Look, this is a game of endurance, and the outcome will be determined by a simple math, which is who is going to run out of missile launchers or interceptors first. If the U.S. has been very effective in trying to degrade Iran's retaliatory capacity, whether that's in the form of missiles fired towards Israel or shorter range rockets and missiles and drones fired towards the Gulf states, then this would be a defeat for Iran, and the U.S. would be able to wrap up this war in a matter of days or weeks. However, if it's the other way around, and U.S. and its allies start running out of interceptors, and this is already the case in the Gulf states, and this is why Iran has focused its war effort primarily on targeting the Gulf countries, because they're very short on ammunition. If that happens, then I think it's likely that President Trump would blink first, because if this escalates further, we've already seen the impact on global energy prices, but this is only with the disruption of exports of energy out of the region, is not with any kind of disruption of production. If infrastructure is hit in these countries, then the markets would absolutely panic and we would be in a different situation. If there is a high casualty event and more American fatalities, the political cost for President Trump would change. So there are all sorts of calculations, but the Iranian view is if the Houthis could survive U.S. assaults and a coalition led by Saudi Arabia for several years, if the Taliban could survive 20 years of U.S. military pressure on them, these people are determined enough to be able to survive.
You're happy that America bombed your country, Iran?
Of course we're happy.
Do you support America going to war with Iran?
It's not war to Iran, it's for Iran, saving the Iranians.
So you're going to war with Iran, for Iran?
Absolutely.
And you're from Iran?
Yes, I was born in Shiraz.
You're happy that America bombed your country, Iran?
Of course we're happy.
Okay.
Because they're helping us, look, we are becoming free in Iran.
Why would you want America to bomb your country?
Oh my gosh, because we tried and we tried over and over. We just couldn't do it ourselves. We needed military help to fight this brutal regime.
Khomeini is dead, right?
He is.
Now what?
I mean, now it's time to take over and kill everybody else that were in his circles, and will continue his legacy if they're not taken out. So we have to take him out first. And then we have our leader.
Well, look who it is. Are you going to free Iran?
We already have, haven't we? Absolutely.
And what do you think about Epstein? Epstein files. You know the ring you were part of.
I was. This is a guy wearing a mask, dummy.
If we put boots on the ground in Iran, we are very much inviting an Iraq-style quagmire. This is getting away from these people so quickly. They had no plan. They're a bunch of incompetent children who thought this was going to be some kind of joke that was going to help them in the polls or was going to protect Trump from us noticing that he's in the Epstein files, however many times he's in the Epstein files. It is now completely getting away from them, and oh my God, if we put troops in, I mean, we're really kind of the genie's out of the bottle at that point, and I am very, very concerned about the future that we're looking at if we start committing ground troops to a war in Iran. I also, frankly, just from a professional perspective, what are we going to do? Like contested amphibious invasions? We're going to do paratrooper drops? I mean, we went into Iraq primarily because we had troop buildups on the border in neighboring countries that had land access. But we don't have land access from Afghanistan, and we don't have land access from Iraq, and we don't have the troops built up. Like, I don't even understand. Like, I don't want to be flippant, but I just don't even understand from a strategic and professional perspective how they intend to do this. These people don't know what they're doing. They're a bunch of incompetent morons, and sadly, a lot of people like they're going to pay the price in blood, and that's a real shame.
Do you regret your vote right now?
Well, between him and her, I thought he was the better choice, but honestly, I miss my Uncle Joe. I was a nobody, and I was balling then. Now, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even show you $5 in my pocket.
We spoke to Trump voters here in Florida who are ticked off about the fact that the gas prices in the state have gone up by an average of about 60 cents within just a week.
I would just wish he'd keep up on his campaign promise and say he was going to put it under $3. He'd end that war so fast. But here it is, 5 years later, helping his buddy out get his more money. And then never mind charging us Americans all sorts of money for fuel that you just stole from Venezuela.
And those gas prices are getting higher because of volatile oil prices due to the war in Iran, a war that these Trump voters tell us they hope wraps up quickly.
If I could, speak to the president, I'd just encourage him to finish up this war and get us back to a safe world.
He's saying about for our safety, leave somebody alone. They won't bother you. Hopefully this conflict over there will end. It's just unfortunate.
The overall vibe here at the gas pump amongst these Trump voters is they feel like the economy is not going well right now.
At the moment, I'm really out of work.
My hope is that it's temporary and it doesn't last for too long if oil prices come back down. That's my hope.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here. And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy, actively and intensively, with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting Iran. So the American people deserve to know much more than this administration has told them about the cost of the war, the danger to our sons and daughters in uniform, and the potential for further escalation and widening of this war, a war of choice made by this president, not chosen by the American people, with potentially huge consequences to American lives.
Aziz, we just heard the Qatari foreign minister say that the Gulf region cannot take these kinds of attacks on its facilities, referring to water desalination facilities, oil and much more. And he said that we will see a humanitarian catastrophe, as a result of these attacks. What's your reaction to these comments, and how is Saudi Arabia experiencing this?
Well, I think this is exactly something that's shared GCC-wide and also region-wide. I think Dr. Majid al-Ansari was speaking here, and I think many, if not everyone in the Gulf, agrees with him. I think it speaks also to the fact that the amount of red lines that has been crossed as a result of this war, and basically that they're now being put in a position where they feel like there are only bad options to react, and precisely the reason why they never wanted to go to the war in the first place. They were really frustrated because basically everything that they were warning about is happening and more. And this is not only just confined to the GCC, but this is gradually, or I would say gradually, but very quickly, becoming a global issue. You know, we're starting to see now how these facilities and the attack of these facilities just has the ramifications on the global markets and everything else. And so I think it speaks to really, again, the frustration that is taking place, but also the sense of urgency. And I think probably the frustration that many people probably are not understanding what is happening in the region. They assume that probably this is something that's just very, this is very simple and it's very overlooked and it's not understood. And I think he has a point. What is happening right now will have global ramifications if it is left unchecked.
Well, we got some more breaking news just coming in that the Arab nations, every single one of them, are now turning on Iran. Basically saying to this Islamic regime that you are finished, you are done, you are over. You are going to have to pay and be held accountable for the atrocities that you have committed against your own people. And as we continue to see these videos keep coming in from Iran, their retaliatory actions are hitting other nations. Basically, what I'm seeing is that all the other countries in this region, they are just so tired, and they're basically saying that they've had enough, that they want to move forward from all of this. No more destruction, no more threats, no more terror, no more fighting with the United States of America. We just want to see peace in the region. At the end of the day, what it looks like to me is that good is winning over evil. And I promise you that we are going to see the same results over here in the United States of America. It has not been a war between Republicans and Democrats. It has been a war between the good guys and the bad guys. Whoever sold us a bill of goods that we should all be okay with biological boys being in the locker rooms with our biological daughters, the days of that bullshit are finished. It is done. It is over. The only clear message I have for every single one of you is America's comeback. It begins now.
Why is the US war against Iran making Americans pay higher prices at the gas station? You might think it's because the US buys most of its oil from the Middle East, but not really. Look at this graph for 2024. You see that the US buys most of its oil from the Western Hemisphere, with Canada as the main source. So why are the US attacks on Iran causing higher gas prices for Americans? Two main causes. First, oil is a global commodity. Think of it like wheat or gold. Once it hits the world market, it gets one global price. Now imagine 20% of the world's oil supply suddenly stops flowing. That's what happened with the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Less supply, prices go up. Everywhere, whether Tokyo, London, Beijing, or your local gas station. But the second cause might make you more angry. Oil companies maximize their profits, specifically the ones pulling oil from Canada or the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of America, if you want to call it like that. These companies don't keep their prices low just because their oil came from your backyard. They sell it at world market prices too. So while you're paying more at the pump, American oil companies are having record profits. Some of those companies don't need Middle East oil to benefit from Middle East chaos. But what do you think? Will those rising prices actually push the US to stop the war against Iran?
I told you, didn't I? The video is pinned in the comments. Yes, you're reading these headlines. Let me update you to exactly what's happening, what they do not tell you on the news. So, a Saudi official just said it out loud, and listen to it. I will also, at the end, you will see the video of that Saudi official speaking. He's saying the following: The United States abandoned us and redirected its air defense to protect Israel. They left all the Gulf states that host American military bases at the mercy of Iranian strikes. Now, let me break this down for you. This is what I said in that video before. Qatar has 10,000 US troops at the Al Ubaid Air Base. It's the biggest air base in the whole Middle East. Bahrain hosts the United States Navy's 5th Fleet, that is thousands of American sailors. Saudi Arabia has US military bases all over their country, and they buy billions in United States weapons every year. And what happened when Iran started firing back after the United States killed their leader, Al-Khomeini? The United States took the air defense systems and ran and moved them to Israel instead. And this resulted into Qatar being on their own, and they had to shoot down Iranian drones themselves. And Saudi Arabia had to defend their own oil refineries with their own systems. And Bahrain watched as the US Navy pulled ships out and left. The United States even moved their own troops out of all these bases before attacking Iran. They went to undisclosed locations, but they sent 12 F-22 fighter jets to Israel. They sent 14 refueling tankers to Ben Gurion Airport. They parked an aircraft carrier off Israel's coast. So who's the real ally here? The countries that gave the United States land, bases, money, and oil for decades, or is not real? Because when the B started falling, the United States made their choice clear. They chose is not real, and they left everyone else to fend for themselves. And now if we reflect that upon that video pinned in the comments, you will understand that this is the whole plan. Lure Iran into annihilating the Middle East together with is not real and the United States for the plan of greater is not real. And this, my people, is what American loyalty looks like. Follow for more, share, like, spread it, educate others. Don't keep it for yourself.
الدفاع الأمريكي مركز على إسرائيل دون دول الخليج التي تقع فيها كثير من القواعد العسكرية. وما في شك أنا في تقديري وأعتقد أن هناك يعني نوع من العتب الخليجي على الحليف أو الشريك، إذا وصفناه بدقة، الشريك الأمريكي الذي يركز على أمن إسرائيل واستقرار إسرائيل وسكان إسرائيل دون الاهتمام بالجوانب الدفاعية في دول الخليج العربية التي تتعرض اليوم لاستهدافات إيرانية دون جهد أمريكي.
So today's topic is all about the reaction of the Arab Americans towards the war or the conflict between America and Iran. And here, guys, we are going to talk like on a general perspective. From the clip that we just played, you will notice that so many people are concerned about the cost of the war, because it's actually from the pockets of not only the white Americans or black Americans, it is also from the pocket of Arab Americans. So they are really, really concerned because, you know, when this conflict happens, that means that products are going to be affected, but the income remains the same. And also the consequences of the conflict. At this point, any American in the Middle East is fearing for his or her life just because of what their government is doing in the Middle East. So you can see that it's very, very complicated story. But at the end of the day, this topic is, it has actually divided so many people. Like there are those that are agreeing and there are those that are disagreeing. So if you look at what the Arab Americans and Americans in general are saying, is that they are actually anticipating price hikes in everything from gas, grocery, transport, houses, everything. They expect that. And there is also concern of the common civilians. They feel like they are not safe. Anything can happen. Iran could decide to bomb them. So, my good people, I saw a mother crying because the child had been deployed to Iran. She was really crying, and I don't know the kind of feeling that she had. You over there who is watching, if they had actually deployed your son, daughter, uncle, I mean, how would you feel about the entire situation? Let us know in the comment section. So, as you can see, Arab Americans have a very special ties to the Middle East. They are Arabs in the first place. You know, when we talk about Arabs, it's actually those that went to America like thousands of years ago, and those that are the Arabs, the diaspora Arabians, all of them, you know. So if you look at them, they very well understand regional politics, and they know like what's really happening deeply. They are the ones that feel the impact of the war like more personally. You know, the others, they don't have a personal point of view. They don't feel the war personally. So, according to the mainstream media, only 4% of Arab Americans support the war. Only 4, meaning that 96% don't support at all. So, if you look at the 96%, they support dialogue and reduction of sanctions instead of conflict, which is very, very commendable, because that shows that many of them, they prefer, you know, peace, they prefer unity, they prefer a government that works together. My good people, according to recent reports in the mainstream media, many Arab governments in the Middle East, they fear that the USA-Iran conflict could actually destabilize the region and damage the economy in the economies of the Middle East, which is very true, because if you look at Iran, the way they are reacting to the war, they are actually throwing missiles to these Arab countries that probably have American military bases. So, in that regard, they are foreseeing an economy that will be destabilized. And if you look at what the Arab Americans are actually discussing in these videos, they fear for a Middle East conflict. I mean, you know, that could actually cause a conflict, because one country will be like, why are you wanting us in this war? Why them? Why not us? Why there? Why not here? You know, the whys and the questions is what could actually escalate the conflict between or among those countries in the Middle East. And also the governments in the Middle East, they're really concerned about this defenseless civilians who are suffering. They're defenseless, they're suffering for nothing. And so many of them are skeptical about the US policy, for the foreign policy, because, you know, on many occasions, you will see the Americans, you know, sanctioning and banning certain people from certain countries from entering their land, but for them, they want to enter other people's land for free. So, you know, there is a lot of confusion. And of course, you love those that support this conflict, others will oppose, some will actually be in a point where they have massive distrust with the government. Some will worry about the families who are in the Middle East, it's actually a mixed reaction all over. So I don't know what you think about this. Kindly comment down below, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one, my good people.